Well, hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of the Summer Spotlight. Actually, today we are gonna do something a little bit different. Welcome to Three Crones and the Woo Woo. How are you guys doing today? Krista?
Great.
Joanne?
I am, yep,
Awesome.
awesome.
Fantastic. Awesome. So I am so very excited to be with you guys today and actually go live with this one. We had started last week on our talks about the chakras. We have covered the roots so far. We got about halfway through the sacral, so that's where we're going to pick up here. All right. Which of you two ladies want to take a shot at it?
Krista,
I'll
you can
let
go
Joanne. Oh, you want me to go first?
first. Yes, ma'am. Go for it. Go for it.
Woohoo! I'll go for it. I'll tell you, I really need some sacral juice going right now. So, your sacral is your second chakra. So, your first chakra is your root, right? And you sit on it, essentially, like we're all doing right now. Your sacral is like right below your belly button. I always tell people either take 2 fingers or 3 fingers, and it's right there below the belly button. Um, but it's where the wound is. For women, it's where our reproductive, so it's all about creativity. It's all about rebirth. It's all about connection. And for me, when my sacral is out of alignment, typically, not always, well, okay, I lied, always. If my sacral's out of alignment, that means my root's out of alignment. And chances are, if my root's out of alignment, that means my sacral's out of alignment because they work hand in hand and their vibration is that deep rhythmic music. So think of if you're listening, and I'm not talking to about Five Finger Death Punch or anything, but if you're listening to that really deep music, that is where the resonation of your root and your sacral are. And it's all about movement. So people who have lower back pain, Joanne and I were talking about this last week. If you have lower back pain or hip pain, a lot of it has to do with misalignment of either your root or your sacral, or in my case, and how I like to attribute it, it's a together thing. It's the color orange, and my favorite crystal, and Joanne, you may agree with this, you may disagree, and that's cool. And same with you, Gail, because we're all crystal goddesses here. Is all about the carnelian. Yes, carnelian. Look at you. Yes, my crystal. I'm in my kitchen, so my crystals aren't in my kitchen with me. And so, but yeah, it's all about the carnelian. I had uh, she's one of the grandmothers of one of the tribes that I work with my Nibi Wabu, which is a water blessing ceremony. And she calls the carnelian her happy stone.
Mm, yes.
Yeah. And so whenever I think of the sacral and I think of carnelian, I think of Darlene, and I think of it being the happy stone. And so I love actually working with carnelian. One of the things for women, and I think us as three crones, if you'll, our reproductive system is, of course, constantly in flux at the glorious age that we're at.
I think mine's having campfire sing-alongs.
It's one of those, it's part of the journey. It's part of our self-exploration, if you will, is when we transition from being a maiden to be, which is a early quarter moon, to a waxed full moon, which is, of course, when you're womanhood and you're of giving birth and everything else, to when you start a waning moon to becoming a crone, which is a wise woman. or as you know, as they refer to in modern medicine, menopause.
Yep,
So
I've put
yeah.
the men on pause for a long time now.
I'm gonna intervene for just a
Please do.
second regarding menopause. From
Yes.
my point of view, I think it's the medical industry's doorway or gateway to giving women the psychological excuse, as opposed to just recognizing that as women move into that cycle of life, that stage of life,
That's
it's
all.
actually an opening where you get to live life without any stresses or worries about when you want to be intimate, that you can have intimacy in such a most powerful and sacred space where you're not worrying anymore about, oh my God, you know, is this going to lead into a pregnancy? As opposed to when women experience the menopause aspects, it's really about, again, going back into our traumas and our emotional blockages that we have. So when a woman does experience, let's say, the hot flashes or the weight gain or whatever else goes along with it, it's really connected to their emotions. And when they can get those emotions realigned and really get into that space of clearing their chakra system, they won't even have an episode of quote unquote menopause. They'll just go
Mm.
through a change of life and move into it gracefully. And I know
Yes.
many women who have never had a, we use the word side effect of, let's say, a hot flash or
Mhm.
anything else relating to menopause, and they're well into their 70s now, and it just happened that way. So I do believe that it's just a gateway for the medical industry to say, oh, this is what happens to women, and these are some of the things that we'll experience. And when you're told these things in your mind, and you start to say it to yourself, you start to believe it, and then once you start believing it, you create it. So I just
That's
wanted to throw that little notation in there.
Right. I don't
it
know
is so
how
true.
much of my experience is a self fulfilling prophecy. First hot flash I got, I had no idea what was happening to me. I was standing in the middle of a Verizon store and just about took the face off of this poor clerk just out of a sudden panic, in that all of a sudden I felt like I was going to spontaneously combust and I didn't know what was happening.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not, now that's not to say that I haven't ingested a society of this is what you can expect later on, that
Yes, yes.
did key something in. I'm not necessarily disparaging that point of view. And I do personally know a few people, like my sister-in-law. Every time I complain about a hot flash, she's like, just want to say, still haven't gotten any of those. And she's like 6 or 8 years older than me. So there are definitely people who their physiology, they don't experience that.
Yes,
But
yes.
she was more immersed in the societal messages even than I was. This is a woman that whatever new cleaning product was out, she was all over it because her kids, needed to be protected from illness, and her kids were more sick than mine because they weren't exposed to bacterium that they needed to be. But at
Exactly.
any rate, all of that's like a side trip. There are people that their physiology will manifest these things, whether it's a self fulfilling prophecy or not. And there are physiologies that will never exhibit these symptoms, and either way is okay.
Oh, yes, definitely. And I think a big portion of it is also relating to a lot of our emotional.
Mm-hmm.
The word that's coming up for me is emotional baggage that we hold on to from each of our cycles of life.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
From our teenage year, from our pregnancies, for that matter, when we were pregnant, into our 20s, into our teenage years and childhood, that contributes along the line of the cycle of change of life.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
So I do believe that I think they just need a different term for it maybe. But menopause is quite interesting because like Gail has said, she put a pause on men.
Yeah, no, and it was really funny the other day. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, you know, who actually came up with the term menopause? Men? Because honestly, I just don't think it actually serves serves that time of life necessarily justice. And that's my own personal opinion in terms of the name, because I think it's far more empowering. It's kind of like choosing not to color your hair anymore, right? 3 years ago, maybe 3.5 years ago now, I chose to stop coloring my hair. So I have all this silver along, these silver threads with this really dark brown all mixed in. But for me, it's like, I'm choosing to do this gracefully. Naturally, my body knows what to do. So why do I want to fight what it naturally knows what to do? It's kind of like, I also chose to have natural childbirth. Yes, I'm one of those insane people. I never had an epidural. I made that choice all 3 times. I made the choice not to do that. But, going back to the sacral, it's all about creating. And with creating is all about choice. Each time I think that we talk about a chakra system, even though there's so much history that goes along with each energy center, which is what our chakra systems are, it also becomes a choice. You can choose to flow in the circle pattern that the chakra system flows in, or you can choose not to. It's your choice. I know for me personally, from the aquatic standpoint, my background heavily in aquatics, when I was fighting the current of the ocean, it would drag me down like a rock. But when I relaxed and then flowed with the current, I would bob like a cork. So you can make that choice. You can fight the current and be dragged like a rock, or you can relax and bob like a cork. And so for me, it's, I guess I understand that surfer vibe. I do. I get it. It's about going with the flow. And I think that ultimately, one of the things with the bottom 3 chakras, and we'll pop up now into, I think, the sacral, into the solar plexus, if you gals are ready to do that.
Yep.
Is that the bottom 3 are all about flowing together. And when you learn to flow with it, and it becomes almost that rhythmic of an infinity, and you flow with it, you're going to find that it becomes easier and easier and easier. And then when you get up into your powerhouse, so I call my solar plexus, which is your yellow chakra, and it's right where your diaphragm is. So think of where your rib cage is and your sternum, and it's right there at the base of the sternum where the diaphragm is. It helps the lungs to move up, helps the lungs to move down. It works our intestinal, our upper intestinal, our digestive tract, which being our stomach. It's a really powerful chakra, and it is governed by the sun, hence being yellow. And it is the powerhouse. And you can, when that one is in balance, because it's a very masculine also chakra, it can be very powerful. However, when it is not in balance, whether it's wobbling or whether it's reverting backwards or whether it's spinning too fast or spinning too slow, if it's spinning too slow, you'll feel sluggish. You'll be constipated. You'll feel, you won't be able to breathe. The anxiety of breathing just really is almost collapsing on you. If it's running too fast, guess what you'll have? You'll have a lot of diarrhea. I know it's a beautiful thing to be talking about at this time of day, diarrhea. But it's a physical thing that shows up for you. You'll also probably find you'll have a lot of acid reflux. And there'll be your whole indigestion system will just be really on high alert. So anything and everything will just be very hypersensitive for you. When it's moving too quickly. It's almost like when it's moving sluggishly, it's a little more, although you get acid reflux when it's sluggish as well too. But yeah, I know I'm speaking mainly about the physical aspects right now, only because they're kind of a heightened awareness for me just in a situation that's been occurring. But one of the things that I love to work with, there are 3 stones I love to work with. I don't know, you gals may, in citrine works beautifully with our solar plexus. One of my very all-time favorites for healing of the solar plexus is Baltic amber. And here's a really fun one that not everyone thinks about, and that's sunstone.
And there's that
Sunstone is
citrine.
fun. And then there's citrine. See, I remember I said citrine.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
There's
She's
your
just showing.
citrine.
Yep.
Yeah. And citrine is so much fun too. But sunstone is one that people overlook to play with our solar plexus. So yeah, I don't know. Joanne, what are your thoughts on solar plexus? I'm sure you have things that aren't so physical. Do you have emotional thoughts on
Yeah.
it?
Oh yeah. I mean, when we think about our solar plexus on an emotional level, I mean, the key component is digesting. How are we digesting what's going on externally, and that sits in our belly. I was actually just working with a client a little while ago in regards when we think about our emotions. Most people think the emotion sits in the heart, but theoretically, our emotion sits right in our belly. So when we are angry, when we are sad, when we are excited, that all sits right in the belly area. So of course, obviously, the low frequency energies of our emotions are going to create the sluggishness in the belly, the bloating, the physical components of it. And when we think about weight in itself, like body weight, it's again that sits right in the solar plex area in regards to how we digest what's going on. And I think earlier when you were speaking about the sacral energy regarding being able to go with the energy or go against it, it's the same concept. So if we are resisting what's going on around us, the external, that creates a lot of energy in the belly. And because there's so much energy, negative energy for that matter, it causes our belly our solar plexus not to be as powerful as it can be. Because again, when we think about the solar plex, it's about allowing us to trust our intuition. And when we're going against with resistance, how much are we really trusting our intuition and trusting our faith when we are in resistance to it? And that's a really good question that we can all ask ourselves is, well, if we are resisting, if we are constantly asking, well, why is it going like this? Or why is this not showing up? Or, why am I not where I want to be? The best question is like, okay, why are you holding on to so much resistance to the situation? And why are you not trusting it? And how are you digesting? And then when we think about the solar plexus in regards to digesting, then we can also talk about food. Because usually when we are emotionally out of alignment, we tend to look for food that's going to help feed those emotions. And when we're feeding our emotions, we're not fueling our bodies. So therefore, it's a combination of, because we're not fueling, our solar plex is going to feel it. Where we're going to feel that constipation or the diarrhea, as opposed to being just in flow. And as we were speaking about before with the sacral energy, for women, going through their cycle, their moon cycle, how your system is in alignment is your cycle is in alignment. True. That everything just flows with ease. That you may not experience the cramping, you may not experience the uncomfortableness of your cycle.
Mhm.
I mean, theoretically speaking, I think the key component is when a woman is experiencing discomfort, the bloat, it's usually a very high indicator that, as we spoke on, the 3 lower chakras are not in alignment.
Yep.
You know, so I know I get clients all the time that will ask, well, how do I know my chakras are aligned? You feel good.
Yeah.
You feel good. Everything feels good, from the physical to the emotional to the mental. You feel good.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because, Krista, I wanted to pose a question when you were speaking about the root to the sacral,
Yes.
about when you're out of alignment.
Mhm.
Because I would say over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, and I keep blaming it on the planets. I really do. And I'm hoping the planets are going to prove me right.
Okay.
I'm hoping, because I've had a lot of distress going on in my hips.
Yeah.
And as you spoke on, the hips and the back is all about the root and the sacral,
Mhm.
one or two not being balanced, not being flowing.
Yes.
And I sit back and I'm like, so how much of me how much of myself, my energy is not in flow right now? I feel like I'm in flow.
Mm-mm.
But at the same token, I also know that I have a lot of resistance going on with certain things that's going on.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why there's so much energy showing up in the hips for me.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, you are bang on, and I know you don't want to hear it.
Okay.
Yeah, I get it, because I don't always want to hear what I need to hear too, girl. And so it's about grounding. You need to ground yourself,
Yes.
your energy. And I know you've been busy. You do like I do. It's part of being a healer, it's part of being an intuitive. We spend our time helping others, achieve these things. But yeah, spend some extra time. Go out and sit. I'm seeing that you need to go sit on the ground, ass on ground.
Yes. Did you get a chance to see my video I did yesterday? I was outside with my crystals in the
No, I
dirt.
didn't.
Yes,
No, I
in the dirt.
didn't.
Yes, and then I came inside after I took my crystals, put them in the dirt, and
Okay.
I placed the crystals on my chakra system
Beautiful.
and just lied there.
And are you feeling better? Because you need to put your ass on the ground is what, okay. Seriously, those are the words I'm being told. Go put your ass on the ground.
Go sit on the floor.
No, not on the floor.
On
You
the-
need to, no, outside on grass.
Yes,
I
yes,
know,
Go
I
to the
know
beach.
it's
If you
hotter
don't get
than the
sand up your
hinges.
crack, you'll be.
Yeah, no, not like you. You have sand out there. She's in New York.
There's
If
beaches
she's
in New
sitting where there's
York.
sand, I know, but if she's sitting where there's sand,
yes, yes. No, ass in the grass. I got it.
Yep.
go
I
put your
got it.
ass in the grass.
I got it.
But it's the same message I'm getting. So don't think that it's only a you thing. Um, and I've been working very hard, and it seems like I'll be honest, it's about the same time frame for me too. For about the last 2 weeks, it's like my hips, and for me, I've also been doing step aerobics, which means I'm running up and down 3 flights of stairs, delivering things to where they belong in the house.
Yes.
It's like, okay.
You're doing the actual step aerobics, not using a step bench
Yeah.
and just stepping up and down.
Oh
The
yeah, no, not
staircase
using a
aerobics.
stairmaster. I'm actually doing step aerobics. 30 flights of steps up and down.
Yes, yes. So this
Yeah.
is definitely a great lesson for our viewers to understand that even as healers,
Yeah.
even more so as healers, because we are so involved with helping others to heal and get themselves grounded, that, and again, I'm still going to blame it on the planets. I'm still blaming the planets.
Okay. We'll blame the planets.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
In reference to the energy shifting that is going on with our planets, it also means we are shifting as well.
Oh yeah.
Which could be one of the reasons why we need to be more grounded, because there's just so much energy going on That's really important to be extra grounded. Extra grounded.
Definitely.
You know, so yes, so ass in the grass, got the message.
Ass in the grass.
Got the message. And yeah, and you know, when we go back to the solar plex energy, it really is. I mean, it's those three chakras: the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus. And it's really learning how to listen to your body too. Like I had reached out to someone yesterday, and I had asked, it's like, okay, so is what I'm experiencing a medical thing, or is it a metaphysical thing? Because in my mind, I'm like, okay, do I need to call my doctor and schedule an orthopedic appointment and check things out? Or is it something that just needs more aligning and getting myself, you know, because I was trying to figure out in my head, okay, what have I done over the last 2.5 weeks that might have contributed to this discomfort? And I'm like, I haven't done anything out of the ordinary. I said, so it can't possibly be that I injured myself.
Yeah.
I do believe that is definitely an alignment, literally.
Yeah, definitely. No, and even so on a physical aspect, okay, so you and I both have, our background in being personal trainers, and even we both know that you can physically misalign yourself. However, if you're not metaphysically and energetically aligned, you can go to the physio day in and day out and still be unaligned. You can go to the chiropractor, and I love going to the chiropractor. I've been going to the chiropractor since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. I just like the release and the relief that alignment brings to my body. And then it helps everything else. As far as it just helps me align everything else. But I mean, honestly, if I am metaphysically, if I am energetically out of alignment, it doesn't matter. I can go to my acupuncture. Well, my acupuncturist helps bring that energy back, but I can go to my chiropractor. I can go to my massage therapist. I can go to the doc, and it won't matter, because it means that I need to work on the stuff that's out that's out here. I'm trying to stay in camera. That's out here. Visualize my arms bigger, but out here versus, what's necessarily right here.
Yes.
Because that it can be crazy. So Gayle, Joanne and I have monopolized this whole thing so far.
Hadn't noticed. I'm just
relax. By the way, I love your beautiful sparkly new sweater that you just added.
Thank you. I was getting chilly. It was getting chilly. That's one of the things that I love about Arizona is that in the summer you have to dress in layers, just like you have to dress in layers in the winter in Michigan, because just getting to your car and getting your car started and the air conditioning blowing cold, 3 to 5 minutes in the sun, you're sweating, right? So I've got sweaters stashed all over the house where we have the air conditioning. Anyway, so one of the things that floated through my mind while you guys were talking, especially about the solar plexus, and I'm surprised that none of us have said it thus far, this is the gut reaction.
Yes.
This is the seat of your intuition. It's not here, it's here, right? Yes. This is your courage. Remember the term, the old cowboy term, lily-livered, yellow-bellied? Yeah, these are what you call a coward, someone who has no courage. So when I think about the solar plexus chakra and how it works with the root and the sacral chakra, is that it is our courage to take action on feeling safe enough in the world to create something. And then if the next one is in line, we will actually manifest it out into the world, right?
Yep.
Now, a couple of other things also came to mind, and that some of it has to do with what Joanne is dealing with right now with the hips. I'm a big fan of, what the heck is her name? Louise Hay.
Louise Hay, yeah.
Big fan of a person. I can't remember her name right now. But in your life in the last couple of weeks, for either